This is the Sennheiser 421. It's a classic old microphone. It's been around since dirt, and I think they were originally designed for announcers' mics, desktop announcers' mics. It's a very elegant looking microphone. What these are usually seen on the drum kit are for tom-toms. You'll see them all the time, mounted like that, typically coming in like that or some angle like that. And they were used on, they're still used on tom-toms around the world quite consistently. They're fantastic. They get a great tom-tom sound. They're pretty durable. If you do smack them, they're pretty robust. I've been lucky with this pair of them for a long time, but I found that they need a lot of EQ. When I'm mixing down, I found that the drums required a lot of dipping out of certain middle range frequencies to make them sound good. And I got a little bit tired of that, so I started going into some other microphones that I'll talk about here in a minute. But those are the Sennheiser 421s that we've seen for years on tom-toms. Not to get off track, but these are also great on electric guitar amplifiers and cabinets. What I'll usually do when I'm miking up an amp is put a Sen 421 as well as a Shure 57 very close together and very lined up. You don't want one out in front of the other. You want their capsules lined up. And be careful, because the capsule in the 421 is back a little bit. You can see it if you look through there, but you want to line them up like that, not like that. You can see that in the monitor. Anyway, mount them together. One thing I've seen Andrew Scheps do is he actually duct taped a pair of them together just like that and just use them for snare drum, or for, for guitar amps. That way you're going to not have any kind of issues with phase or anything like that. He just used it constantly like that. He put them dead center on the cabinet and right on the middle of the cone. He didn't angle them off or anything like that. Straight on, nice and close, and that was his. He got a lot of great guitar sounds that way, so I kind of picked up that technique from him. I don't tape them together like he does. I just put them very close together on the stand. As long as they're not too far apart or out of phase with each other, you'll be okay. Anyway, that's what we use, the Sen 421. They're great looking mics. I like using these still in percussion overdubs. I'll put a pair of them over a pair of bongos or congas or something like that. Really nice, pretty mic to look at too. I really like the way they look. Or if you're doing a podcast or interview or something like that, get a couple of little desk microphone stands and they look great for an interview or a podcast. We're so used to seeing the big Shure SM7B microphones. I'm sure you know the ones that every podcaster and his mother uses in podcasts. They're great announcers mics, but I'm getting tired of seeing them. I'd prefer to see a more interesting mic like this in a podcast, and they sound great for voice. That's really what they were designed for, I think, initially, was voice. And the one difference between these, I don't know if you can see it or not, but there's a Sennheiser label on the front. One of them is black and one of them is silver. This is not a matched pair. They're a little bit different in shape there too, at the butt. Anyway, interesting microphone. So let's see, that covers my kick, my snare, my tom-toms. Oh yeah, my overhead's a very important microphone. The mics that go over the kit, there's usually 2 of them. You can use 3 if you've got a big kit, but I always use 2. That seems to work fine. The mics that come down from above, I've got these mics down lower than I usually do. I usually don't have them quite that close to the cymbal. Just for demonstration purposes today, I've got them really low so you can see them in the frame of the camera. Otherwise, they're off camera. This one over here. I usually kind of group them obviously to a left and a right side. When I say left and right, by the way, I mean my left as a drummer and my right. And I'll distinguish that in my notes. When I say left, I'll write left, hi-hat, right, ride. It's very important to distinguish that because a lot of guys talk about their left and right from the front of the kit as the audience point of view, which would be the opposite, of course. But as a drummer, I always consider left my hi-hat side, right my ride side, and I'll indicate that on my track sheets and in my DAW so that guys don't flip them and have the overheads opposite the rest of the kit. Otherwise, it's just going to be a phasey mess of stuff, and you're not going to get that split, that nice separation, that stereo image that you want to get as the producer. But these microphones up here are coming down. You can change that to suit your different configurations, but usually I'll have them pointing either straight down like that or a little bit apart like these kind of are, a slight angle. You don't want them too far apart like that, but kind of pointing at the areas that you want. You could also angle them in if you've got a big drum kit. You can come in from the outsides, but I usually kind of come in straight like that, or maybe a little bit of a split, a little bit of a spread like that. I aim them to certain areas. I usually have the left-hand microphone kind of pointing at the area of the hi-hat and crash cymbal or cymbals, if there's a few cymbals on this side, and then the same on this side. I'll have the ride, usually one or two crashes, or maybe a third crash over here on my far side. For me, I usually have a splash cymbal right here in the middle, which I removed today so you can see what I'm doing, but usually I have a little splash right there. So you kind of want to have them in your left and right groups of cymbals. If you've got cymbals in the middle, those will get picked up as well, but kind of think of them as picking up certain areas of the drum. They're going to get your hi-hat. Obviously, your snare is probably going to appear right in the center. It's something you kind of want to think about as having, if you can imagine a point from the center of your snare going to each of the microphones, that distance should be pretty equal, like an equilateral triangle. You don't want to have one mic being way far back so that snare is taking longer to get to that. It's going to create a strange little bit of a phase cancellation there. So watch out for that. I know certain guys will actually measure the distance between the center of the snare, and each mic with the measuring tape to make sure that that's very accurate. I'm not quite that meticulous with it yet, but maybe as I get older, I will be. But right now, as long as that snare is appearing right in the center, you're golden. The microphones that I used for years were from one of my favorite microphone companies called Røde. They've been around for a long time now, and they're one of the first microphone companies that made expensive looking and sounding microphones at very reasonable prices. Røde has been making great quality mics for years. I'm actually using one today for the video. This little microphone I have here, and the pack is a Røde lavalier pack. I think it's called the Røde Go 2. Anyway, I've got some of those for my interviews. I've got one here just off screen. I've got, see if I can pull that in a little bit. Yeah, that's my video mic up there for my voice. That's a Røde video mic. I think that's called the NTG. Anyway, I got to check on that, but I've been using that for a while now in my videos. It's a great lightweight microphone for videos. This particular pair of microphones is the Røde NT5. I got a matched pair, the Røde NT5. They're little condenser microphones, or they're also called pencil microphones. They require phantom power. They're very lightweight and very easy to handle. You can get them in really tight situations. It was really my first matched pair of microphones, and I got them specifically for overheads, and I used them for a long time. They worked great. They still work great. They can also be used in other areas. I've used these as field recorders a lot. You take a matched pair of these out in the field and get nice stereo images. They're great you can drop one on your hi-hat or your ride, which I'm going to talk about in a second. You can use them on acoustic guitars, as a second mic on acoustic guitar, or even as your only mic on acoustic guitar if you want to do that. There's all kinds of applications for this pair it's a very versatile pair of condenser microphones that I think was about $300 or $400 when I bought them as a matched pair. I think that price holds true. And there's a couple other condenser mics that Røde offers that are very similar to this microphone that you might want to look at as well.